Hello again, cats and kittens. Here's another episode of John Stevens' YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk about Musky. And specifically, I'm going to talk about what's wrong with Pennsylvania and why we don't have a lot of them. In doing so, I'm going to address first of all the history, and secondly what's being done recently by the Pennsylvania Fish Commission that looks very, very promising for the future. And thirdly, I'm going to compare what we've done to what they've done in the states where there's been more success, and where there have been better results with better populations of fish and better size fish. So buckle up, listen up, get ready, and grab a sandwich, because this is going to be a long one, but you're going to learn a lot. To start, I want to talk about our history in Pennsylvania. I'm only going to talk about the history of Pennsylvania fishing as long as I had seen it. During my lifetime, which spans from the 1980s till today, I had seen a size limit on muskie that was a joke. It was 30 inches long. You were allowed 2 fish a day. Now, sources debate when a muskie is sexually mature. However, it's generally accepted that they sexually reach maturity at around 35 inches long. So our old rule of a 30-inch long muskie being legal, the old rule prior to 2007, was keeping a juvenile fish. It made no sense. So the wild fish that were there were fair game before they could even reproduce, where there were wild populations, which is a limited range, very, very limited range. And the ones that we stocked couldn't even try to reestablish a population in areas that might have been favorable to reintroducing the species. Because guess what? Guys could rip them out at age 30. And we all know there were people out there cutting off heads, barbarians who were putting them on the wall and acting like they were big man because they caught a 31-inch muskie. Yeah. And those so-called headhunters with that Neanderthalic idea did a lot of damage to the population that we had. Okay, moving from the history, going into 2007, the state of Pennsylvania did something really great. They raised the size limit to 40 inches. So at least, if we follow the model of a 35-inch fish being reproductive size, you had a few years after that where they were growing and having a chance to reproduce into the areas where we had restocked them and reintroduced them, along with, of course, the tendency for the native populations where they still existed to have the chance to reproduce and keep a population going. A good move, a very good move. The problem was it was under-advertised, and a lot of people who didn't really target muskie never knew the change occurred. In fact, I remember a few years back, I was at Loyal Hannah Reservoir one day, and I was just testing my motor out. And whenever I, do motor work, it's very close to the house. I sometimes just mosey on out, see how things are going. And I saw some dumb individual, we won't use a curse word here, who was out at the dock holding this muskie that was clearly undersized out, because it was clearly the biggest thing he ever caught. I caught something that's 31 inches long. I says, is it still alive? No, I killed it. I cut its gills. I was afraid it was going to get away. I says, oh, wow. I says, it's a shame for you. The size limit's 40 inches. You got to be kidding me. And I pulled out the book that I had in my, glove box in my boat, and I showed him. Muskellunge, statewide, 40 inches. His face turned pale, and he got the hell out of there right away. I don't know what that guy did with that fish, because no taxidermist in his right mind was going to take a sublegal fish into his shop. So he surely didn't get it mounted. And you know what? They have so many bones in them. I believe they have 1,906 bones in their body. Yeah, try eating one. Isn't going to go well. Plus, there's an oily skin when you hold them. They just stink. They have a smell to them. I imagine it probably wasn't great table fare for the man, but it serves the point, doesn't it? If you're going to raise the size limit to 40 inches, you may as well put signs up in the lakes that you stocked with muskie so that people know the size limit actually is 40 inches. This brings us to our most recent thing that got me thinking about this. I think it was in February. It might have been early March. It was before the great coronavirus lock me in my house campaign. But anyhow, I read the Pittsburgh, I believe it's the Post-Gazette. There was an article. It was a great article where they were talking about raising musky fingerlings that are stocked to a bigger size. To put it in perspective, Pennsylvania, when it stocks fish, usually stocks them as fry, which is really, really itty-bitty small, to the size of fingerlings. Okay? But they don't raise them to 8 to 12 inches like other states that have had success with their stocking programs have done. You can consult the big states that do musky fishing: Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, New York. All raise them to 8 to 12 inches. And the mortality rate of this stock fish is incredibly low. Our state announced it was going to do exactly that thing, and I thought that was a fabulous move. And congratulations to the people in Harrisburg for doing that. If you put an 8 to 12 inch fish in most of our waterways, most of our lakes, it's going to survive. There just aren't very many fish that are capable of taking it down. Now, going from the history and what Pennsylvania has changed, let's look at what other states do that have been successful. I mentioned some states, right? I've mentioned New York, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota. I'm just going to start talking about what those states have done that we haven't done. And this is a big thing. I'm going to put it on the screen when I say it. They have regulated muskie as a big game animal. And that's what it is. A top predator like a muskie is a big game animal. A big game animal takes a long time to grow to adult size. You have to protect it so it can grow. You have to protect it so that it can reproduce and generate offspring. We saw a recent experiment with this with the Pennsylvania Game Commission. In my lifetime, I remember started hunting, right, when you could shoot any buck at a 3-inch spike on it. And some of us older guys with a little bit of gray in the beard, mine still looks pretty brown, I'm seeing it, but the gray beards know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. You had to sit there with that scope and aim up and say, oh man, is that spike 3 inches? And those guys would greedily shoot those little bucks. That's why Pennsylvania was just notorious for having a hell of a lot of deer, but there just weren't any big ones. Then we came up with this idea with a man named Gary Alt, who I think was a pretty good guy. I think he got a bad rap right away. He had a good idea, though. Antler restrictions. If you want big bucks, make it people wait till they have 3 or 4 points on one side to shoot them. Now there are 8 and 10 points being shot much more frequently. Are there monster once-in-a-lifetime bucks? Probably not a lot of those. Because again, the words once in a lifetime say it all. But there are a lot of nice bucks. So with muskie, where have they done it better, and where have they put trophy regulations in, and where have they put big game protections in? We're going to start with the state of New York on the Niagara and St. Lawrence frontiers. In the Niagara River and the St. Lawrence River, there's a 54-inch size limit, 1 fish per day. For a muskie to get 54 inches long, it's at the end of its life, baby. It's bred. It's done its thing. Very few reach that size. It's almost no kill. But if you do get one, it's really that big. It is the fish of a lifetime. And God bless you. Take them out. Okay, Michigan's another interesting state. I love Michigan. They do have varied special regulations on size. Some would be bigger sizes, some would be smaller sizes. I believe that varies. But one thing I do like is it's 1 muskie tag per year. On your fishing license, you pay $1. I think it's $1 to get a muskie tag. And it's like a buck tag, like an antler deer tag in Pennsylvania. You get 1 per year, and once you use it, you're done. To get your fish mounted at a taxidermist shop, you need that tag or it's an illegal fish, and your butt's getting turned in. I love it. Because it really does focus on protecting the population. And it causes muskie fishermen to think, man, if I get a 42 incher, is that big enough? Or am I spending enough time in the water, 42 inches? Hey, that's nothing. In some areas in Michigan, they're getting big muskie. Why? Because you got to think before you punch that tag. Minnesota, my personal favorite, is they don't have a tag. You're allowed 1 fish per day, all right, but it's got to be 54 inches long statewide. Where New York did the 54 inches on 2 rivers. Minnesota, baby, did it statewide. Great idea. It made like statewide catch and release. Their population is exploding. They've become a destination in the Midwest. God bless them for putting out that model and promoting trophy fishing and protecting their resource. Wisconsin has tried a variety of different things. They do have management zones north and south. The size limit is like Pennsylvania, 40 inches, 1 fish per day. 40 inches or size or better. They've played around with a lot of different proposals on limiting the amount of rods you control, using only artificial baits. Things more or less designed to keep the population from being overstressed and promoting the animals being released and returning to the water safely and not having mortality rate. So these are some things you can do. I do like the current leadership, the executive directorship of the Pennsylvania Fish Commission. They're going in the right direction, getting the size of those fish up. But now what we need to do is get protections for the fish when they're in the water. Regulate them like a big game animal. There'll be more of them around, and the ones that'll be around will be worth keeping. This is John Stevens, and until next time, take care of yourselves, and hopefully baseball's starting in, right? The Pirates aren't much to look at, but they're all we got, eh? See you later.